Welcome to the VC3 News Update. I am Shanette Hackshaw with the top local news stories for today. This country's Prime Minister, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, has left the state for the South American country of Brazil for the Amazon Summit. The summit is being held to discuss the attraction of investments, combating deforestation, the protection of the indigenous peoples of South America, and the encouragement of sustainable development in the face of climate change. Prime Minister Gonsalves is accompanied by his security officer, Pedro Job. The summit is taking place in the Brazilian city of Belém. Both Prime Minister Gonsalves and Pedro Job will return to the state on August 9. A preparatory meeting of the 4th International Conference on Small Island Developing States for the Caribbean opened today at the UWI Open Campus under the theme, Charting the Course Towards Resilience and Prosperity. Addressing the opening ceremony this morning, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Sandy Peters-Phillips, said the decision to host the meeting, which she says is very important, was made with the objective of identifying and developing input for the 4th International Conference on SIDS, scheduled to be held in Antigua and Barbuda in 2024.
1. Assessment to the Somoza pathway progress. 2. Strategic response to external shocks impacting Caribbean small island developing states. 3. Social and human capital development priorities. 4. Resource mobilization and concessional financing for Caribbean states. 5. Building institutional and statistical capacity to support informed decision-making in the Caribbean islands and small island developing states. 6. Innovative actions to stimulate transformative development in Caribbean small island developing states. And 7. Unlocking meaningful and effective multi-stakeholder partnerships to support the sustainable development of the Caribbean region.
Ms. Phillips said the meeting is expected to generate an outcome document reflective of solutions and recommendations to these challenges that states nation in the Caribbean are always facing, as well as their economic and social development levels. Permanent representative of Samoa to the UN and chair of the Alliance of Small Island Developing States, His Excellency Dr. Lituru, had high praises for the government of this country for organizing the meeting. In his remarks, he gave a brief overview of the gathering of states and efforts to save the planet Earth.
But the Caribbean will always where it began, and where AOSIS solidifies its alliances. Here we are, 3 decades and 3 international conferences later, and the international community still has not found the political will to save our planet. And our development is as precarious as it was then. Over the last 30 years, we have watched our coastline disappear, our debt amass to unsustainable levels, and our people struggle. We face a situation of insufficient efforts, largely attributable to the lack of urgency.
He believes that action has not been commensurate with needs. He said that climate change has leashed its toll across the region daily.
Sea level rise threatens homes, infrastructure, and livelihood. Rising temperature are making drought more pronounced and agriculture more difficult. It's only 2 months into the hurricane season, but we know that potential disasters are imminent. The economic viability of the countries in this region remain under constant threat. Caribbean countries are some of the most indebted in the world, reaching unsustainable level for some and leaving little room for maneuver. Faced with continuous and multiple crises, and without the ability to address these in any sustainable and substantial way, SIDS are on the proverbial hamster wheel. We therefore look forward to our 4th conference with urgency and our greatest resolve. AOSIS envision a targeted, actionable, measurable, nimble approach to the next 10 years without silos and without distraction.
The Alliance of Small Island States is an intergovernmental organization which was established in 1990 during the Second World Climate Conference in Geneva. It plays an integral role in carrying out advocacy for small island states and influencing international environmental policy. The meeting ends on Thursday, August 10. During the 3 days, participants are expected to engage in meaningful discussions over the next few days concerning challenges and issues affecting states, nations in the Caribbean. Meanwhile, Foreign Affairs Minister Kisal Peters says the meeting being held here comes at a crucial time when SIDS face a number of challenges threatening progress towards economic, social and environmental development. She cites St. Vincent and the Grenadines with its vulnerabilities as a primary example of what SIDS face.
In 2020, like all countries, we were confronted with the uncertainties and devastating impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. But in 2021, unlike the majority of other countries, at the height of the pandemic, we experienced multiple explosive eruptions of the La Soufrière volcano, resulting in widespread damage to agricultural lands, public and private infrastructure, and the displacement of about 1/5 of our population into emergency shelters. Then, without time to even properly assess the extent of what we had just experienced, Hurricane Elsa was upon us, bringing with it further devastating impacts, especially to the windward side of the island and our most vulnerable indigenous communities. This should put into perspective the plight of SIDS like St. Vincent and the Grenadines and other islands in the Caribbean, as well as in the Pacific and in the IAS, the Atlantic, Indian Ocean, and South China Sea regions.
The meeting is being held in collaboration with the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs. Still in our local news stories, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves said on Saturday at a media brief following talks with the visiting delegation of the Africa Export-Import Bank that it is well established that Africa and the Caribbean have had shared experiences which have to be translated into shared expressions, including institutionalism expression of different kind. He told media personnel as well as some cabinet ministers who were also in attendance that Africa and the Caribbean have been doing several things in the political spheres, but admit that there is more to be done.
Diplomatically and institutionally, but this is the first time that we have had a bank, a commercial bank with a developmental dimension coming out of Africa and linking with the 6th region of Africa, the diaspora. So Africa, the African Union has 6 regions: North, South, East, West, and Central on the continent, and the diaspora of which the Caribbean is central to that diaspora. This is the 6th region. We have had financial institutions like, for instance, Republic Bank from Trinidad and Tobago, establishing a commercial bank in Accra, in Ghana. But now we are having a continental-wide bank in Africa, establishing a presence in the Caribbean. I think this is a very important strategic development.
He added that several matters concerning the local state sector in which collaborations can be made with the bank solely or in partnership with other financial institutions in other parts of the world where the bank has links were discussed at the meeting held earlier in the day with the visiting delegation.
And we talked conceptually about many areas in which the private sector may be interested. But politicians and bankers can talk about the areas which the private sector may be interested in. But then the bankers have to get in touch directly with the private sector and the private sector with them. This is why the roadshow is so important, and the office which has been set up in Barbados, where those officials will be linking here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and elsewhere. I think this is a matter of great significance to our region, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and to our linkage with Africa.
And finally, in our local news stories, Jada Ross, who won the Miss SVG pageant in 2022, made a valiant effort last evening whilst representing this country at the Miss Caribbean Culture Queen pageant in Nevis. At the end of the show, Ross managed to capture the first runner-up position, amassing a total of 1,464 points. After making the top 5 from a field of 9 contestants, Ross managed to cop the Best Talent Award. She also stunned in the swimmer category and ruled the stage in the evening wear segment with her gown entitled Hiruna, the Emerald Dream. Here is a look at her during the talent segment.
I win! Check out this mirror. Oh my God. Mirror, mirror upon this tree. You ever see a cat look good like me? Wait, how long all you been there? Hello, everybody! My name is Jada Elizabeth Mia Jackie Slim Tick Sweetness Smolly Robert Bradshaw International 5 Cheese. What to do, Ross? And I have a surprise for you. You get a car! You get a car! And if you have a car, I could have a ride home, please. No, but free. I just won Miss Crazy Decent International for the second time this year. Nevis, there's Uncle Mark. Uncle Mark, that's you? I hope you're behaving yourself now, because if you think I don't see your behavior on Facebook, you tell a lie. But anyway, I'm coming back to you. All you think is, no, I win pageantry, but tonight, I finally win. Wait, me can't eat this, me still on diet. But wait, me can't eat my bread either then though. What to do? You see why I tell all the road ain't easy? I long for eat a KFC. And I know it's not me alone now. Ask any one of them Cali will come out here tonight. How are you doing? I guarantee you they can say, I'm quite delighted to be here. I've had such a fantastic time this far. I'm so proud of my journey. Life. Hungry, I'm hungry.
Just last week, Shadeen McLean, who placed first runner-up in the 2022 Miss SVG pageant, competed in the Miss JC's pageant in Antigua and Barbuda. She managed to place in the top 3, securing the second runner-up position. The next Miss SVG pageant is slated to take place on October 7. There, 9 young ladies will vie for the title of Miss SVG and a chance to represent this country in future pageants. Those are our local news stories. Continue watching on Channel 114 for regional and international news, along with the VC3 Sports Updates.